Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about spellcasting, and specifically, we're going to be talking about Warlock spellcasting. Warlocks are one of the most interesting spellcasters out there. Their packed magic feature is very different than most others. Their spell slots come back on a short rest, but they only have a couple to spend. Today we're looking at second level spells that warlocks might want to take. You see, the problem is that using your spell slots as a warlock is a big investment since you only have a couple. And you want spells rather than ones that you can cast over and over again. You instead want ones that have a good long effect or a very significant effect in an emergency. And I've picked out a top 5 for the second level picks. These are spells that will change the way that your warlock can play long term, or really, really help out in an emergency. Starting off with number 5, we have the only direct attack spell in this, Shatter. Shatter is an AoE. It's got a 10-foot radius, so it can target several creatures. They make a Constitution save, and if they fail it, they take 3d8 thunder damage. Shatter is just a noise bomb, which it does a decent amount of damage, and it's one of the best single-shot AoEs for a second-level spell. Personally, I wouldn't use Shatter as a warlock unless it's an emergency. Like if there's a crowd rushing at you and you can't get away and you need to end it quickly, throw Shatter into them and you'll take a good chunk out of that large crowd. I will say that there are better ways to take on enemies than using this, but for the number 5 spot, having a powerful AoE is not bad. Now, for number 4, we have Misty Step. This is another emergency use spell because a lot of people like to use Misty Step to pop around a battlefield or to get themselves through a dangerous situation. Personally, I wouldn't use Misty Step as a warlock unless you're imprisoned or you have to dodge something that is about to slam you for a bunch of damage and you have the ability to use your bonus action. Then, yeah, Misty Step is great. It's a powerful spell, don't get me wrong, but to waste a Warlock spell slot on it is iffy, and I would only use it in an emergency. Still, the sheer power of it belongs on this list. Now, for number 3, we have one I would use often as a Warlock, and that is Shadowblade. Shadowblade is a fantastic attacking spell. You literally summon a sword just out of thin air. It has the light properties, so it can be dual wield. It has the finesse properties, so you can use your dex to attack with it, or if you're a hexblade, I suppose you could use charisma. And it has the thrown properties, so you can hurl it, and when you hurl it at an enemy, it immediately comes back to your hand and disappears after it hits. It's a strong weapon that does 2d8 psychic damage on a hit, and it is absolutely brutal in darkness. If you're in dim light or darkness, you attack with advantage every time you hit with this thing. So, Shadowblade is a great thing. It's a bonus action to cast, you concentrate on it for a minute, and it just makes you much more viable in melee combat. It doesn't quite stack up with the Hex Warrior feature, because obviously that works on a specific weapon, so you can't like combine them. But if you aren't a Hexblade and you have to mix it up in melee, this is a good pick for any warlock because it lasts the whole combat. Now, the second one on this list, the number 2 spot, goes to Suggestion. Now, Suggestion is a social spell. You cast it on a creature, they make a wisdom save, and if they fail, you can give them a sentence or 2 of a course of action to take. You concentrate on the spell for up to 8 hours. So this is a very long-term spell. And the creature who you suggested do the thing goes and does the thing. As long as it's not directly harmful, suicidal, you can't make them stab themselves or jump off a cliff, they will pretty much do anything you ask. The example in the book is that you can suggest a guard give his horse to the first beggar that he sees. That's not a reasonable thing for anybody to do, and yet suggestion will make them do it. Not only will it make them do it, but they will justify it in their own mind afterwards. They don't know they were charmed, they don't know, unlike Charmed Person, where the target is aware after the spell's over, suggestion, they just think they came up with that idea and had a weird change of heart. So it's a really, really light version of mind control. It can end combat encounters before they start. It can end combat encounters after they start. It can be a really powerful manipulation tool, and with the long duration, it's well worth casting a Warlock slot for this. Only beaten out by the number one spell, and it's one of my favorite spells in the whole game, Invisibility. Invisibility, you cast it on yourself or a party member, concentrate on it for up to an hour, and it makes you completely invisible. You cannot be seen unless a creature can see invisibility, or has blind sight or true sight of some form. This makes you much better at stealth. It makes you much better at battlefield maneuverability. It makes it easy for you to track people and to get into places you're not supposed to. Basically, any situation where invisibility could help. And that's all situations. There's no situation invisibility won't help. It is good no matter where it is. It lasts an hour, so it's worth using your Warlock spell slot on. And you don't even have to use it on yourself. It can be used on the stealthier characters or on the clunkier characters to help them get better stealth. It is good no matter what, and I think that with the limited spell slots of the Warlock, invisibility is a must-take. It doesn't last in combat, so if you attack or cast another spell, or the person who's invisible does, then the invisibility goes away. But simply using it to get an ambush off or get the drop on someone in combat, not the most handy use of a Warlock spell slot, but it certainly would be worth it in a very, very specific situation like an ambush. Invisibility has 1,000,001 uses, and any spellcaster, including a Warlock, should consider taking it. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.